What's up, everybody? Welcome back to All Things Nerdy with Nate and Joe. I'm Nate. That's Joe. Today we have what is probably one of my favorite topics to talk about, and I have been like a featured, kind of guest, I guess, on here talking about travel, and I like to think that I'm pretty decently experienced when it comes to travel. But the guest we have today makes me feel like a novice world. And like I've been to like 17 countries, and he will be able to tell you how many he's been to and his experiences and stuff like that. But that's what we're going to be talking about today, is just getting out, seeing the world, the experiences you get from it, the fun things you can do, and all of that. So I'm excited to dive into the world of travel with our awesome guests. That's about it, Joe.
Yeah, man. So I'm super excited as well to live vicariously through like not only Nate but
Joe, I
now
can't
Eric.
hear you. I don't know if it's me or if it's everybody.
Eric, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro.
Okay, so must it must be Nate. But super excited to live vicariously through Eric. I've been to like one other country besides the United States, so I'm not well traveled at all. But we can get to see the world through Eric's lens today. So super excited about that. But without further ado, Eric, talk nerdy to us.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you guys for having me here. Yeah, I took about 13 years of my life traveling all the way up until COVID. COVID kind of, canceled that. But I moved away 2008. I left America. I was going to leave for good, actually. And my dream country was Australia. So I just basically packed everything up, bought a one-way ticket. I'd never been out of the States before, and just took off to Melbourne, Australia. And that's where I started my journey. So from there, I just got addicted. I couldn't stop traveling, and then I even continued living overseas for, like I said, about 13 years. And it just became my life, my lifestyle. And let's see, I traveled to about 62 countries. I lived in 7 different countries. The longest I lived was about 8 years in Vietnam. But when COVID was going on, I was actually in the UK, and I had a job there. I was getting paid to travel all of the UK. And when COVID happened, that kind of killed that. And I escaped England on my in my car on a boat. I got to France, and then I was just crossing borders as the countries were closing down. I made it to the Netherlands, and that's where I got posted up for about 2 weeks to quarantine. And then that's when I said, man, this is too crazy for me, and came back to America. So that was 2020, moved back to the States, and I've been here since then. I've done a few trips back overseas, but I live here now. So it's kind of like the past for me to be a worldwide traveler.
So my like you said you've traveled to how many was it? Was
It's about 62.
62, and then you said 7 or 8 you're like home.
Yeah. Well, I
What
worked there, either had a bank account or, a girlfriend at the time or something. It made me actually settle down for a little while.
okay. That was going to be my question, is like what differentiated those from the other 62. So but that makes
Yeah,
sense. You put a little bit of roots down, even if it wasn't a ton of them.
that's
Nate, what were
true.
you going to say?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of tricky because if you go to a country and you're only there, like I don't count if you just hang out at the airport. Get out, spend a couple of days to kind of say that you've been there. And then for me, even that's tough to consider really going to the country because I'm used to going to like countries on one-way tickets, and I just kind of play it by ear. I have no plans. I don't book anything, and sometimes I'll stay for a month. Sometimes I'll stay for a year. Like I, I really have no idea, and that's just kind of how I did everything. And if I found a job or a way to make money, and I liked the country, I would stay there, work there, then get an apartment, get a house, get a bank account. It would vary from every country, from country to country.
Yeah, I know. So for me, once you get that first stamp in your passport, it is addictive, right? Like once you get that
Yep,
first, it then becomes like, okay, this is the thing. I got to keep going. I got to keep going. But my wife and
that's
I,
right.
we love to travel. And we travel the same way you do. And the fact that we don't plan anything, we don't really put anything in the books. We want to have the ability to go and do and pick and choose and like travel the way we want. We don't want to have to be like, oh, at 8 a.m. we have to be here. At 10 a.m. we have to be here. Now, every once in a while, like, you know, the Louvre and things would have to buy tickets.
Right.
But for the most part, we just like go and travel. What I think is crazy, as a person who tried to move to another country and then, you know, got cheated out of the opportunity because they're assholes. We got our visa and everything like that. But man, it was a process. It took a lot of time, a lot of effort, and things like that. How were you able, did you just go find income and then just stay? Or now, I don't know, like, you know, I mean, if you're already gone, I doubt it matters. But like, how did you get to go and live?
Yeah, that was something I had to learn on my way. I didn't know anything about traveling. I was like the guinea pig, and I just, like I said, I booked a one-way ticket. I just asked one person that I had spoken to that I knew was from Australia, and I just was like, "Hey, where should I go to over there?" And they told me Melbourne was a sports capital, and I was like, "Okay, sounds good to me." So bought a one-way ticket. I bought a book that told me about Australia, like a National Geographic book that had all the details and information, you know, just about everything about what I could learn about Australia. So I learned on the airplane, which is, you know, like a 20-hour flight or something because it's so far away. And I had no idea. I just learned. I arrived with two big suitcases because I knew I wanted to live there and I was going to get an apartment and then try to find a job. But once I got there and I got a hotel for a couple of days, I ran into some people staying at a hostel. And I had never, the only thing I knew about a hostel was a movie where you get kidnapped and it's not a good place. So I was like, I don't know about this. And they were like, no, you got to stay there because you'll meet all these other people. You're traveling solo. It's key if you go there, and it's way cheaper than an apartment. And I was like, all right. And that changed everything. Like that was the first step, was like learning that. So once I got into a hostel, met other travelers, and then I was like, wait a minute, these people moved to Australia to see the country just like me. Like I was blown away because coming from Alabama, no one does that. No one leaves the deep South. You know, we're in a bubble already in the southern states, and then you leave another bubble going out, you know, overseas to another country. And so it just opened my eyes right away. And that's how I kind of learned, like meeting other travelers, you know, what they did and how you can, you know, live in a country for a year and just travel. I was blown away when they told me they were just going to live there for a year and travel the whole country. I was like, wow, that's wild to me. You know, we don't do that so much here.
Yeah.
And so it was just a learning process from day one.
I wish I would have done that a lot more before I met my wife. Now it'd be much harder for me to just like pack up and like go live somewhere for a year. If it was just me, I could do it in a heartbeat. Like I probably wouldn't be stateside currently. I would be off, you know, crashing on someone's couch in a random country in the world. But
right.
I will say I am so disappointed in where hostels have went as of late. A lot of the hostels have kind of lost what made them special, like the cheap community, you know, and things like that. Like when I was in Europe, we looked at a lot of hostels. They were more expensive for a shared room than what a hotel cost. Like we could go get like a bed and breakfast or something where you got like included breakfast, you got a private room, private bathroom, everything for cheaper than what we could get. Because we wanted to do a lot of hostels. We were wanting to meet people and like get to know other travelers, right? But it was just so difficult. Like one of the hostels was like, oh yeah, we're gonna put you in a room. It's like 18 people, right? And I was like, okay, like I mean, I was looking online and all this, and then we looked at prices, and it was like $150 a day. And I'm like, hostels are supposed to be like
share with 18 people.
Yeah, hostels are supposed to be like 18, 20 bucks if it's a nice hostel. We're talking like 50. Almost every hostel we came across was like $100+ a night. And I'm like, dude, that's not a hostel.
Yeah, that's not. It's changed. It's changed so much.
Yeah. So I do a lot of couch surfing. Have you ever like seen the app or website Couch Surfing?
I use it. Yeah, I've used it a lot. Yeah, that's right up my alley, man. Is you know, when you don't know where you're gonna be, and if I'm in a place I like it, then I just start looking for people that I can stay there longer and save money. You know, and it doesn't cost you to to stay at someone's apartment or house or on their couch. So,
And that is
You
the
gotta-
easiest way to meet some of the best local like they will tell you everything. I got some stories. We'll go to the comment, but then
Yeah.
after that, I got some couch surfing stories.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stephanie says,
Yeah.
Eric, what kind of work have you been able to do or find while traveling?
man, that's some of the interesting parts, isn't it? So my first job I got in Australia, I traveled with a carnival. So of course all my family's like, "Oh, okay, you ran away, joined the circus." You know, I got all those comments. But you know, I gotta tell them, you know, there's no bearded ladies. There's nothing like that. It's just putting together these carnival rides, and you're getting paid to travel.
Were you
So-
wrestling Crocs? Like, I feel like that.
No, it was nothing crazy, man. I was like just helping put together the rides. It was pretty simple, but again, every week we were in a new city, and they paid for your accommodation. They provided a lot of hookups there, and it was a great way to travel and get paid. But I've had jobs from that, going to be an English teacher in Vietnam and Colombia. But then probably my favorite job was being a cave guide in New Zealand.
Okay.
Dude, that would be
Yeah.
You just.
So I got to take
dream
people
life.
on adventure caving trips every day. It's a 4-hour trip underground, and
Wow.
it's dropping down on a rope, rappelling into the cave, and then you end up on a zip line. You end up rafting down the water with your lights off, staring at the glowworms on the ceiling, and then you climb out of a waterfall. So that was my day at the office, being a cave guide.
Why did
But
you
I've
leave?
done.
I don't, like.
I know.
Did you go
See,
somewhere
that
else?
country.
Like, what?
I could do it for 1 year, and I'd have to try to, you know, like what you said, Nathan, about the process. If you want to get an extension for your visa, it's a bit tricky. You'd have to have someone sponsor you and all of that. So that kind of killed that job unless I really focused on trying to migrate there more, you know, long term. And for me, I had already heard about Asia and then how much money you can make teaching English and how cheap it was to live there. So I was already piqued. My interest was piqued from that. So I was like, well, I could always come back to New Zealand. And I went back to Australia and I traveled with that carnival for another 3 months because it's an easy way to make money and get paid to travel. But then I ended up moving to Asia and was an English teacher for 8 years in Vietnam. But actually, before I made it to Vietnam, I was a sales promoter for a nightclub in Thailand, in Phuket. So all different kinds of crazy jobs, man. I mean,
Okay.
but I'll tell you, the wildest job, you guys are going to like this. So my friend that I met in Thailand, we both worked together as the sales promoters. He moved to Dubai, and then after Dubai, he ended up moving back to England. He asked me, "Do I want to come and, you know, travel around England, get paid to travel England?" And, you know, of course, he knew the answer to that. So I'd been living in Vietnam, so I took a break and I left everything at my friend's, like in his garage. And I was like, "I'll be back later. I'm going to go take this job for 6 months in the UK." When I got there, it was going to be a sales job. And I would just go around and go to little shops and basically just be another salesperson. But my friend told me about another gig that he was doing part-time. And all he was doing was driving around the UK and looking for seedy places like possible brothels, sex shops, strip clubs, anything of that sort of nature. And he would add it to a website, an adult website. And he was just doing that every once in a while, but he got paid a set salary to add the content to the website. And I was like, wait, so you just go around and take pictures of the outside of these places and that's it? He's like, yeah, that's all I do. I was like, I'll take that job, bro. So I did that. I got paid to travel all of the UK, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. All my fuel was covered. He paid me a set salary every month. And I just took a couple of pictures of the outside of buildings that would upload to the website of this adult website. So
wow.
that was pretty wild.
Yeah, I would do
Yeah,
that.
man.
I don't know if me talking to you is a good thing because right now my head's already spinning. Like, you know, I got a good life, like I'm doing all right, but like, what if we would just pack up? You know,
I know.
We're gonna see Stephanie just come across behind you in a minute and just knock you out and
Yeah.
drag you off of this video. It's like you're not going
The
anywhere.
possibilities are endless. That's what I learned was, you know, I went over not knowing anything, and then every new country, every new traveler I met, I just kept networking and connecting and learning and basically I could go to any country and I would have, a couch to stay on if I needed to. I didn't have to use couch surfing if I didn't need, if I didn't want to. And then not only that, it would give me access to these different kinds of ways to make a money and to keep going and keep living that dream of just always being like a gypsy, a traveler.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I did it,
I can't, like, I know Nate's got stories about couch surfing. I just can't imagine just like someone I've never met before just being like, yo, I'm about to chill on your couch and just like doing it. I was like, what? Like,
it's not for everybody.
Live such a different life. Like, not that I couldn't do it. I mean, I could like do it, but just like getting over that first idea of like, yeah, hey, I just met you. This is crazy. Couch surfing.
Right.
Exactly. I will tell you, it is much easier as a solo person than like having a wife and trying to do it, because then they're concerned for their safety. Not that my wife needs me to protect her or anything, because she's gonna whoop more ass than I am, right? Like if anything was to go south, I'd be like, Steph, get him,
right?
Yeah, but for the most part, like you still have to worry about it. From couch surfing, so I've met some really, really cool people. I had one person I couch surfed with. He wasn't home, right? He was actually gone for most of the time I was going to be there. He just gave me the code to his garage. I walked into his house. That was it.
Awesome.
And I was there for about 4. Yeah, I was there for about 4 days before he got there, and then we hung out, went to some bars, stuff like that. I had another lady when I was I was going to South Carolina before I moved there. She took me to a baseball game, took me out to eat at some like local spot, gave me all the low, like, hey, you want to go here? You want to avoid these places, all that stuff. I've really only had like one weird experience with couch surfing, and man, it was an accident. We got to this lady's house. It was probably 4 a.m. Not very nice to do. I mean, it was like a 13-hour drive to get there. So I try to give her as much heads up as possible. Like, hey, it's going to be real, real early. She's like, I'm a nurse. It's not an issue. Just let me know and I'll let you in. So let her know. She lets me in. And it was me and an ex at this point, right? So we wake up the next morning and try to leave, and all the doors are like locked. And it's not like you just unlock it. It was like key locked, right? And I was like,
oh, yeah.
Fuck me. This is my first time, my first couch surfing experience. I was like, you don't put baby in a corner now. Like I'm about to kick this door down. I'm about to go through a window. Like I'm not putting the lotion on the skin. It's not happening. Right. So I text this lady. I'm like, hey, I'm not sure if you meant to, but like I'm locked in your house. I cannot leave. And like she was a nurse, so I waited like patiently, like I can't believe I'm in this situation. Like this is fucked, And then finally, probably about an hour later, right? I was getting to the end where I was about to start going through walls, She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Honestly, like y'all just got there so early. I didn't really think about it. I was in a rush, because my morning was thrown off, completely expected. She's like, I'm on my way home right now to let you out.
Wow. That's crazy to get trapped. That's
inside,
different.
Like, and what's funny is you're like, you know what? I think I'll do that again.
That's
funny. It's your first time.
Yeah, she was amazing. It's just, I thought she was gonna kill me.
Where was that at? Which place was it?
That was another spot in Carolina. So I surfed twice in Carolina. Yeah, that was the very first time. And then I followed it up with the guy who wasn't home, which is probably why I was more willing to do it, because he's like, yeah, I'm not home.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, so you're not going to lock me in. Hey, he could electronically lock you in these days. The smart locks, like, you never know.
But the thing is like, even if I don't stay with people, it's still such a good community. So like I was going to Puerto Rico and I had a guy hit me up. He's like, hey, I can't house you, but I grew up here. He's, and he's like, I would love to tell you all the spots. So, but I'm constantly getting messages of people like, hey, you should go here. Hey, you should do this. Hey, this is great. Like all those, even when we were in Europe, we had people hitting us up because I'd post where we were going and when we were going to be there. It just in case people could house us or could not house us or whatever, but constantly people are like, hey, like, let me know. I'd love to get a drink, or, hey, we're having this event, like slide through, meet people, and like couch surfing. And I was told about it from a buddy in St. Louis who couch surfs like religiously, but, and it's like one of the best things I've ever done. I love it. And I tell everybody, if you're going to travel, try it.
Yeah, definitely. it's essential because like your accommodation can eat up so much money, when you're traveling. And the thing is, at least for me, everyone travels differently. I just want to toss my bags down and go explore. I'm all about exploring. And so if I can not spend any money, even better, and hostels, you meet other people that want to explore, I just need a bed and need somewhere to toss my bags and I'm gone, so that's why for me, it works perfect for me, but yeah, it's not for everybody for sure,
Dude, we should travel together at some point. So my wife and I are the same way.
Oh, yeah.
From like an accommodation standpoint, as long as I got somewhere safe to put my bags, somewhere for me to
Yep.
lay down and take a shower, that's all I need. Because literally, I
Yep.
wake up, we leave. I don't come back until 9, 10, 11, midnight, 1, whatever, right? I literally take a shower, lay down, wake up, rinse and repeat. I don't go to the hotel or to the accommodation to see or be at the accommodation.
Yeah, exactly. I know some people, they're all about the resorts and the actual hotel itself, but not for us, I don't think so.
Yeah, but that's not really seeing the country though. Like, it's a different type of vacation. Like when we went to Mexico, it was like a resort, but I don't feel like I actually see Mexico. I did like the excursion where you kind of do the jungle thing and zip line and that kind of stuff, which was like my favorite part. But like I didn't see Mexico. I just saw the resort, which was awesome. But it's just a different type of vacation.
It is.
Say going and exploring, which would be equally as awesome. But on stories, I bet you have so many. And I bet you get asked all the time, what is your So what is your go-to story? Like someone asks you, hey, tell me a story about your travels. What is your go-to story?
I do have a lot, and I am working on a book currently about how to travel the way I did it. And then of course, all the stories that went along with just, being really out there and very open to whatever. So,
if you need a co-author on that book, let me know. I can pitch in some stuff.
Okay. See, I'm not the best at writing, and that's what I regret is I didn't do like a diary. But I did take a lot of pictures, even though I'm not a photographer either. I just, tried to keep some sort of a record from all my travels. So I do have a lot of pictures to go along with all the stories and the places I've been. But I was not very good at, actually writing stories down. So it all comes from memory. But man, some of the stories would blow your mind because not only do I do couch surfing, but I've hitchhiked. I've hitchhiked all around the world. A lot of countries I've been to, I probably shouldn't have been hitchhiking.
You're like my hero. Like you're everything I want to do in life. Like I want to live like life the way you have.
Well, I mean, for example, so I was traveling through Egypt, and when I was traveling through there, you got to be a little bit more on your toes in some of these countries because they might not like Americans, or Americans are allowed to go to certain places. Like it is more restrictive sometimes. So I had to pretend that I didn't have to, but I told the people on my bus, because we went to parts of Egypt where they do military checkpoints every hour or so. And so I just started telling them I'm from Australia, and just to make it a little bit easier, because again, it gets a little bit, harder to travel sometimes being an American. So for example, I'll come back to Egypt, but probably the hardest thing I ever did was I went to Yemen. So there were several countries that I either had to sneak into or not get my passport stamped because it was so hard to travel there, like Myanmar, or the old name is Burma. So when they first opened up, their borders, it was very difficult to go there, and you can only go to certain places. So I like to do that kind of travel too. But when I went to Yemen, well, yeah, and then Egypt was pretty easy, but that's where I met some boys who were Americans who were actually living in Turkey. And so to kind of show you the way I travel is they were like, hey, this summer, when we get back to Turkey, we're going to get some bicycles and we're going to bicycle across all of Turkey. And I was like, that sounds pretty interesting. So I looked at the two guys. One guy is a bike rider. He rode his bike from Barcelona, Spain, all the way to Turkey. He's got $1,000 bicycle. He does it for his life. And I was like, ooh, okay. And then I look at the other guy. He's never been on a bicycle in his life, kind of a chubby, kind of Mexican-American guy. And I was like, all right, if you're going to try to do it, then I'm in. So I just met these guys a few months later in Turkey, and we rode bicycles across all of Turkey for 2.5 months.
Wow.
And so we were just camping and, staying with local people. And so I did that kind of stuff like that, where it's like, a little more extreme because, again, you're going through military checkpoints. We'd have people roll up to us, the military and the police with guns drawn. Like, what are you guys doing? Because, we stood out, And the American guy that he actually could speak a lot of Turkish, the Mexican guy, he looked Turkish. And so they thought he was like an undercover agent because says he's from America, but he looks Turkish. He can speak fluent Turkish. It got real hairy a couple of times because it's like, we're just riding bicycles. And they're like, what are you doing? Like,
it doesn't make
stuff
sense.
like that. I know to them, it didn't make any sense at all. And so stuff like that was pretty wild, but I think going to Yemen. So this journey to Yemen, I went to an island that's called the most alien looking place on the planet. It's called Socotra Island. And it has these trees that are found nowhere else on the planet. In fact, I think 37% of all the plant life is only found on this island. It's endemic to this island. So there's nowhere else in the world. So I really wanted to go to this island. And the way to get there, as Americans, we can't even get visas to go to Yemen. And we were at war with Yemen. This is when Trump was in office. He was actually bombing the mainland for the ISIS. He was trying to, get the ISIS out. So while that was going on, I made my way to Dubai, to my friend's place that I told you about, my friend that I worked for in England. He was living there. I was hanging out with him, checking out the UAE. And I told him about this island. And that was the closest I'd ever been to it, even though I was a couple of countries away. But how I really wanted to go to this island. And he's like, well, you should do it. He's like, if anybody can do it, you can do it. And I was like, well, that's true. I was like, but I can't get a visa. The U.S. is dropping bombs on the mainland. But it was really difficult to try to go there. And so I ended up finding a way by going to the country of Oman. And I hitchhiked on a cargo ship. It's an Indian cargo boat. It took 3 days of going through the waters with the Somalian pirates, like kidnapped the boats and stuff. Like, you remember that, what was that story, Captain Phillips, where that happened?
Yeah.
Yep.
I am the
captain now. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I was on that kind of I was going through the waters where the Somalian pirates hang out. And I was just catching a ride. I gave the boat captain $100. And I just said, can you drop me off at this island? And I'm going to see if I can, hang out there. Because I didn't even know if they would allow me because I can't get a visa or anything like that. So once I got there, the people were kind of shocked that this American's trying to get to their island. And they were like, well, we can hang on to your passport. You can hang out for a couple of days, but, how are you going to get back? And I was like, I guess I'll catch another boat back in a couple of days. And 8 days later, after I explored the whole island, I went back to the guys and there was boats, waiting in the dock. They were going to be going back to Oman. They just gave me my passport back and I jumped on the boat. And 3 days later, I was at the port. But then, Nathan, when you started getting, hustled a little bit, I was already by this time pretty well traveled, and I'm used to people scamming me and just trying to always get as much money as possible. The boat captain wanted some more money because he told me that I couldn't get back onto the mainland because it was a holiday, and I was going to hang out on the boat for another day. Just gave me this big story, and I was like, all right. And I was like, I'm not giving you more money. And I just hung out on the boat for the fourth day. And then eventually some guy came in on a small boat. It was like, basically like, let me get you on the island, or let me get you back on the mainland so you can get off this boat. We're open today. And I was like, all right, that's fine. And then this guy tries to hustle me and wants like another $50 or something. And I said, you know what? I'm out. And I just started hitchhiking, leaving the port with no visas to even come back into Oman. So I'm just sitting there like already left one country that I'm not supposed to be in. Now I'm arriving at this country and I'm about to just start hitchhiking. I'm like, yeah, I was fed up, I was tired. And, but anyway, eventually he came, he saw me walking down the road and took me back and let me get back into the country without having to pay any extra money and stuff. And so, that was probably one of the craziest trips I'd ever done. I'd put that in my tops for sure.
I just looked up some of the pictures of the island and the trees and stuff. It's really, really weird.
It's crazy. It's like Avatar meets Jurassic Park. It's nowhere like it on Earth. There's caves. There's giant white sand dunes as tall as mountains. There are these dragon blood trees that actually ooze this red like sap that looks like blood. They look like big giant mushrooms, like Super Mario Brothers. You could just see Mario jumping across on top of them. That place is incredible, and it was worth all the effort to get there for sure. It was probably one of the coolest places I'd ever been to.
Dude, that's awesome. I mean, it sounds great. Like,
It
and
was hard
also
work.
for the people listening, when he talks about military checkpoints, I've been through Honduras, and even Honduras is like not that bad, but it's still terrifying when they walk up. They're holding ARs, and they're not speaking the language. They don't give a fuck if you can speak the language. They want you to answer their questions and go about your way.
It's intimidating.
Yep, it is scary. Yeah. Like people hear it, they see it in movies, and like, it's not that bad. When it's real life, and that dude has no qualms about shooting your ass, right? Like they don't care. Like they would rather shoot you than you be a pain in their ass, right? Like
less paperwork.
Yeah, exactly.
It is less paperwork, and I mean honestly, they'd probably just like in Honduras, anyways. They'd probably just shoot you and drag your body off to the fucking side, and nobody'd be any of the wiser, right? Like they don't care. So like it is. Luckily, we had somebody that spoke fluent English or fluent Spanish with us, so like they just got us through. Like it wasn't an issue, but it is scary.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, for sure. When I went to the Netherlands for the first time, I was actually dating a Dutch girl, and I came over there to live with her, and she lived about 2.5 hours away from Amsterdam. So I went up there to try to look for work, and it was my first day in Amsterdam. I'm walking down the sidewalk, and I felt some arms on my shoulders kind of move me to the side. And I didn't, think much about it. I thought somebody was trying to get around me, but it was actually 2 police officers, and they started arresting me. And they wouldn't tell me why they're arresting me. And I'm like, all right, this is getting pretty wild here. So they put me in the police car. They take me down to the police station. They search me. They take all my money, and they tell me that there's been someone that looks like me reported using counterfeit 100 euro at a store. And I was like, wow, that's crazy, because I got all my money at the airport. So I knew I was fine, but I was like, here we go again. These guys are just going to hustle me. They're going to take all my money. I'm in this foreign country. What can I do? But after about an hour of being detained, they actually came back. They said they checked the money. Everything was good. And they said I was free to go. But now I'm in the middle of I have no idea where I'm at. First day in Amsterdam. My girlfriend lives 2.5 hours away, and they just tell me to, go ahead and go outside and do whatever I want to do. And I'm just like, that's crazy. It's like these things happen all the time where you just don't know. You never can really expect what's going to go down all the time,
Yeah, it is crazy. So I want to hear about the monk experience. BB said you did something with a monk, or like got into some kind of monastery or something like that. Real quick, because we're a little over time. We want to be respectful of your time. We try to keep everything to around 30. But I'd love to hear like the monk story.
I actually don't even know what story he's talking. I can't even think of anything I've definitely been around a lot of monks and stayed at monasteries, but he may be talking about, because I spent some time in Nepal. So I hiked up to Everest. I didn't go to the top of Everest, but I went to the base camp. So you're staying with local people there as well. And sometimes we did stay at monasteries and hung out with monks and stuff. So that might have been what he was talking about.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, where's your favorite destination that you have been?
I usually do go back to saying New Zealand was my favorite country because of how beautiful. I mean, it's like Lord of the Rings. Everywhere you go is stunning. And also that's where I was the cave guide, which to me, as a actual caver, I grew up, exploring caves in America. So when I got there and I could have the ultimate job that, paid me to go underground, I loved it. So that was probably my favorite country to live in and probably to travel through. But there's so many, out of more than 60 countries, I mean, every country has its ups and downs. There's some countries that I'd prefer to live in, over others. But like South America, is also just on a whole nother level of a great place to travel and live. So,
and we got one or maybe 2 last questions before we close off from Stephanie. Stephanie says, do you have a place you are looking to get to next? and then or any goals you set for yourself travel wise?
Well, I felt like I pretty much knocked everything out that I wanted to do over that time. But
62.
I guess if I would have continued living in South America, in Colombia, I would have carried on down to Antarctica because that was my last continent. I've been to all the continents. I just wanted to take a boat from Argentina or Chile over to Antarctica. So that would be my last continent to knock out. And also, that's pretty tough travel to get all the way down there too.
Yeah. And, the government doesn't want you there because of the hidden city that runs the world.
That's right. That's right. I got to go see for myself. I've been to Japan 2 times. Yeah.
Okay.
Japan's,
so Japan is next for me. Japan is like where I want to go next.
I love it. Japan is in my top 5 for sure.
What's your number one?
Well, like I said, I do put New Zealand up there. Australia was amazing. Vietnam was so cheap, and I spent 8 years there, but I was able to live like a king and only work 20 hours a week, and I was probably traveling to 15 countries a year, only working 6 months of the year. So Vietnam really stands up, as like one of the best places to live and travel as an expat, as an American, living there. Actually, you'd be surprised, but they love us. They love Americans there.
Wow.
You stayed there for 8 years, so it had to be something that was good.
Exactly.
Right?
That's right.
Thailand's up there for me too. My wife's sister just went to Thailand for like a month and has nothing but great things to say about it. And the return rate to Thailand is crazy. If you look at it compared to like other countries, more people go to Thailand and then go back to Thailand than almost anywhere else
That's right.
the world.
I lived there for about 1 year in Thailand.
Yeah.
And a lot of these countries in Asia, the way I travel is by motorbike. So almost all of these countries that I've talked about, I would buy a motorbike or rent a motorbike, and that's how I traveled all these countries. Like all of Vietnam, I went from the top to the bottom on a motorbike. Same for Thailand. So that was whatever country I'm in, like Australia, New Zealand. I bought a car, and my whole goal is to see the whole country or see as much as I can. I really hated to miss any place. So when I would go to a country, I would usually buy a car, rent a car, or in Asia, it was all by motorbike. Same for South America. I did all from Ecuador to Colombia to Peru, all on a motorbike. So if I can get out on the open road and just do my own thing like that, that's what I would do. And obviously Turkey, I was on a bicycle. So
that's so awesome.
Dude, when my wife eventually divorces my ass, she can't put up with me forever. I'm too difficult to do. But when she eventually does, I might just, become a nomad. I'll just pack up everything.
It's addicting.
Yeah.
It's addicting. Now, I also want to put one of my top 5 countries, Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
That country was really under the radar for me, and I spent a month there. I motorbiked the whole island, and that's in my top 5 as well. That's one place that I would love to go back to. It was amazing, Sri Lanka.
Okay. I'm going to have to add that to my list then because it wasn't even really – I will tell you, Australia is so far down my list because they have spiders the size of dogs that will eat you. Like, I ain't trying to
everything can kill you there. I've got some good stories just about my near-death experiences in Australia.
We're going to have to get you back on just to like the Australia near-death experience.
Right.
But
they're good ones.
A little bit over. I do have a call that I got to get on like 7 minutes. So, but definitely have enjoyed having you on. Like I thought Nate was well traveled. I guess now he's like a baby traveler. So to meet an actual traveler, kind of Val 62 countries. That's insane. But any closing thoughts for us before we end up?
Oh man, I just think it's the greatest thing you can do. I think everyone should travel as much as they can. Life's short. That's what got me traveling because I knew how short life was, and it got me, cruising, and I couldn't stop. It'll be like a snowball. Once you start, like obviously Nate, it's hard to stop.
Yep, it is like, and you love it. Like if it grabs you, you just can't get away from it. Like I want to do Japan, I want to do Thailand, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to go to all the countries. And not, like I said, I want to go from here to the hotel. Like I want to see their world. I want to see their culture. I always eat their food. everything like that. Like I went to Iceland, I had fermented shark, I had whale, I had, other things that I'm not going to name because I don't feel like being destroyed by, like animal lovers and be like, I can't believe you did that. But I ate all the shit that they like, you should eat this, and things like that. So I love it, man. Also, like, shout out. So you have a book out or you have a book coming out? Which one?
Yeah, both. I have a book out. When I came back to America, I started traveling around the States and I needed something to do. So I started exploring abandoned places. So my book is Abandoned Deep South, Lower Alabama, which is like South Alabama. They just call it Lower Alabama, but it's abandoned places of Alabama. And the book I'm writing now is about all my travels.
Okay. So go check out the book, everybody listening. I'm excited. I have a signed copy coming to me, which is awesome. Appreciate that.
That's right.
And then if you want a co-author or just somebody to contribute to your other book, I am happy to do that. My stories, fell in comparison to yours, but I will contribute how I can. So
it'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Man. Well, thank you so much for joining. Thanks everybody for listening. Take care. Enjoyed it. We appreciate all of you.
Yep. See you later.
Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.